though it has all the best intentions, Anambra cannot become like Dubai in 8 years.
No, I guess,
So So I just highlighted this thing so we know where we are. So we don't expect miracles.
No.
And then when come to campaign, I tell you this, you don't believe all those nonsense they say. You look at the facts on ground. Okay?
Yeah, bro, and that's why I appreciate what we are doing, because this is what critical analysis and critical thinking does. You know, you kind of took a different approach to this thing, because I never really used to think about it like this, right? That we didn't have enough money. But now I'm understanding, yes, of course, our economy is as big as other countries. However, you know, we can step by step begin to grow and begin to. I always say this: Nigeria will not get better with snap of a finger. It starts with me step by step, little by little processes, and you know, only when the states are okay, only when we have the states that develop, that's when Nigeria as a whole will be okay. But going to the next, I want to the main issue now is I would like to know, what would you do now, for example, to when it comes to this issue of lack of money? How would you solve this lack of money, this lack of finances? How would you develop your states, Anambra State, to the point that you can generate as much revenue as Lagos states and still be able to give the people good products of governance and still be able to build roads, build hospitals? You know, how would you balance this issue of lack of money? I don't know if that's one of the solutions, and then issue of providing good products of governance.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the budget of Lagos is 400 and something billion naira.
Yeah.
And Anambra is 100 and something. So before we even get to Lagos, it will still take years.
Yeah.
But aside that, I highlighted some things that I'd like to discuss on what I'll do, and I'll break them down in steps. Okay.
Yeah.
So one, I highlighted spending money on things that matter.
Okay.
Number two, I highlighted investing in securities and stocks.
Okay.
Number three, I highlighted construction.
Yeah.
Number four, I highlighted jobs. Then next, block resource leakages, security, health, and education. Okay.
Yeah, bro. Let's start from number one. So prioritizing, right? Which I think is very important. So what in your opinion, what are those things that matter? Is it education? Is it good roads? Is it broadband? Because we don't have good broadband, obviously, in Anambra or in Nigeria generally. How would you prioritize now? What would be your number one thing that on your day one, as you're entering? What would you do? You know, your first day in office, to make sure that, you know, what would you, let me just throw it in now. What would you advise Soludo to do on this day one? Because you are going to do the same 10 years down the line.
What I believe in is that before he becomes the governor, I believe by now he should be making his plans.
Yeah.
I don't believe there is any one particular thing that you would do to change Anambra. I believe anything that should be done simultaneously. You know, there cannot be one thing that you do or begin with. You make a plan and you set all the plans in motion. Because now we have a budget, and the budget goes to different ministries.
Yeah.
So it's hard to harness those budgets to fit your particular goals, which I'm going to talk about here.
Okay? Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, I'll talk about things that don't matter. Then before I go to the things that matter.
Yeah.
The things that don't matter are the things that the current governor is doing: the conference center, the airport. The conference center, the airport, and in the past, P2P bought buses for all the secondary schools in Anambra State and bought cars for all the traditional rulers. These are things that don't matter.
I like this.
But there are things that people like to see. You know, the mindset of Anambrarians also needs to change, because not Nigerians, we tend to attribute good governance to the nice things we see around, right? So it makes the governors focus on things that don't matter, like building conference centers, airports, and roads, and blah blah blah. So, but now let me get down to things that matter. Okay. So it means that the things I'm going to talk about has nothing to do with roads and airports and conference centers. I'm going to talk about real things.
Yeah.
So first, I'm going to invest in securities and stocks. Governments around the world invest in stock markets.
Yeah.
And I learned P2P did it in his time, but the monies were wasted. I believe we'll continue with that, investing some of our monies in stock markets and then employing people to manage those assets on behalf of the state.
Yes. Like a trust, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then next, this is one of the key things that I will do in my first 100 days in office. We're going to construct tunnels to channel water pipes to all the streets and homes in Anambra State. We're not going to do this in 100 days, but we're going to begin this process in 100 days.
Yeah.
And we're going to begin with small metropolis like in Onitsha. We have Awada, we have Omoba, we have Three. Like this it's not a small estate that houses hundreds of thousands of people. We're going to begin in these places. Like in Awada is mapped out. Awada ranged from Army Barracks to around Opiweka and then down to Oba. We're going to dig tunnels and have a central water supply system in place in this particular location.
Yeah.
And then we're going to
connected to Noble's iPhone
in 3 estate area.
Yeah.
We're going to go to federal housing estates and do the same in that place. We're going to go to GRA estate and do the same in that area. The reason I pointed these places out are places that we can relate to.
Yeah.
But this will also be carried out in Nnewi, in
Oka. Yeah.
Oka. Yes. So we'll begin this way. Because we don't have the resources, we don't have the resources to do it like they're doing it abroad. Like every home has water. We're going to begin very small. Okay? And by small, I mean, in let me use Awada for instance, because Awada is somewhere people can relate to.
Yeah.
Let's use Awada for instance. We have a central water supply system in Awada.
Okay.
And it costs between 150,000 to 3 million naira in today's terms to get a borehole, to get water out of the borehole. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's say we use 3 million naira to dig out water. Then we're going to buy the tank and then dig underground tunnels, from that place to all the streets, in Awada, for instance, and then lay pipes on the ground. So when I say dig tunnels, I don't mean like dig and cover with sand, because if you do so, you have no means to make adjustments, to the pipes in the future. Yes. So we're going to dig tunnels so that if in the future we need to change the pipes, we can change the pipes.
Yeah.
If we need to add some pipes, if we need to add like gas to it, we'll do it.
Yeah.
But we'll begin with things. We'll begin with a project that benefits the people and at the same time can yield money for the government.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we dig these tunnels and fix the boreholes, we supply water to every building in Awada, for instance. But we don't have the money and the resources to get pumping machine for all the buildings, right? So what we can do is we can just fix tap in the car park of every building, fix pipes in the car park of every building. If in a building we have like 4-story building with 8 flats, it means that we're going to have 8 pipes, right, in that particular building.
Yeah.
So people can come down to fetch water. They don't need to worry about traveling 100 meters, 200 meters to go carry water. Just come downstairs and fetch water. The reason I'm saying this is because I'm being very realistic.
No, I get what you mean.
Yes. So I don't want to say bogus things that are unrealistic.
Yeah.
This things cost money.
Yeah.
So we'll begin with this: the pipes, the water.
Yeah.
And in the first 2 years, we're going to supply the water. We're going to supply the water on estimated billing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because before you can do prepaid, you need to get machine for every home, right?
Yeah.
You need to get the So we don't have the money to do this at this point.
Okay.
So we just do estimated billing for the first 2 years. So people pay between 1,000 to 5,000 naira, depending on the size of the house.
Yeah.
Because if someone lives in a flat, you don't expect the person to pay the same as someone that lives in a duplex, right?
Yeah.
So we charge between 1,000 to 5,000 naira a month to supply water to these places.
Okay.
And then in 2 years, from the monies we've generated from payments,
water bills.
Water bills, yes. We can advance to negotiating with communities to buy pumping machine and coordinate the supply of water to the roof, and then assign meters to every flat in the building. Yeah. So these meters cost money, and it takes a while. And then, so the ultimate goal is that in 4 years, every home in Anambra has the ability to pay for water from their home directly.
Yeah.
And then, these are initial costs, right? At the beginning, the government spends money, and but after these meters are installed, is a time for the government to now start recouping money. Right? Yes. So now, as a country and as a state, Nigeria, Anambra does not have anything that yields us money.
Yes, that's true.
Yes. So if we're able to give water to all homes, it means that the government can now be tough on water suppliers.
Yeah.
Government has the power to be the sole supplier of water in the entire state.
And also generate funds for ourselves as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the government must ensure that this infrastructure are put in place. And then we can, because of management, stretches, we can invite private investors to invest in supplying water or in supplying gas, because we already have the tunnel, right?
Yeah.
So we can just add, gas pipes to the tunnels. And the government doesn't have to do this because we already have this infrastructure, this tunnel infrastructure.
Yeah.
Private investors can just come, and maybe we can have 10 different gas companies come to supply gases to different homes. We have the tunnels already. We can just license people. Okay, you supply Awada. Okay, you supply 33. Okay, you supply GRA. Okay, you supply Ekulobia. Okay, you supply Amansi. Right? So these infrastructures are in place. Private investors can come. And when private investors come, what happens? We generate taxes for the government. We generate more employment for the people.
Yeah.
Because it's people who work these things, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
So generate more jobs for the people, more income to spend. But before we get to this stage of gas and competition, and it will take more than 10 years.
Yeah.
But in 4 years, one of the primary things we'll accomplish in Anambra State is constant water supply to all homes.
I agree with what you said. I was just looking through my notes because I don't know if you watched the debates between Professor Soludo and the other two contenders. One of the things I learned from that debate was that Anambra State has a deposit of, I don't know how many cubic meters of gas we have in Anambra State. And that was one of the issues they were discussing in the debate where, they were trying to find people, they were asking them what would they do to harness this gas resource, this immense gas resource we have, and which I think like your plan of tunnels will help as well, because these tunnels, that there could be 3 tunnels, one for water, one for gas. There are technologies for these that we can employ, and I like the detail in your plan, bro. I like the detail, and I want to. Going on, I think tying this into construction, I think that already answers the question. I think blocking resource leakages, like you said, is self-explanatory. People understand that the excesses of government has to be called down. All these special advisors to governors, and then you have commissioners as well. I don't know what you think. For me, I think there are excesses. We don't need to have duplicate positions in government. We don't need to have people. I don't know what Soludo says. I don't know where he stands on that. But you don't need to have, for example, Commission for Education, and then at the same time, let's say on education or 20 essays or 20. You know what I mean? Like, you're duplicating, and your government becomes so big, and you're paying all these post salaries. They are really not doing anything in most of the cases. They're just answering the name, and all these things are things that one is that, like you said, can be put to good use.
Yeah. You're correct, but you should also know that for the most developed countries in the world, even the ones that have oil and gas does not constitute a very significant portion of their income.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Anambra states can actually earn more money from supplying water to all homes, and gas to all homes, than trying to go back to this resource cost, because Niger Delta has oil, right?
Yeah.
But it's not developed. So having natural resources does not lead to the development of a state.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's true. But I would also add that it depends on who the leader in charge. The reason why Dubai is the way it is because of the oil they have, and they've been able to maximize that oil for the benefit of their people, right? Middle Eastern countries, whether it's Qatar, Kuwait, these countries are very developed because they've been able to maximize the amount of resources they have. Whether it's Russia with gas, I mean, look at the recent issue that Russia had with gas, with Europe, So I believe that in the right hands, yes, that's not always the case in Nigeria, but in the right hands, we can find a way. But going back to your point, I like the water thing, but just if you can combine the issue of security, health, and education, like how would you? Because I think that's another thing you mentioned that you want to improve on. What's your plan now on security, health, and education?
Okay. Before I proceed, let me just say something.
Yeah.